There are characters in Odyssey 19 who are not happy about the reception of Odysseus the beggar and somebody washing his feet. And there's a slave woman named Melantho, a female slave. She earlier complained about Penelope's generosity to Odysseus the beggar. The hero then rebuked her for discrimination against the poor, and Penelope accused her of having committed a monstrous act of hospitality. The Greek phrases will be important when we look at the Gospel of Mark. As Jesus was eating, a woman carrying an expensive stone jar broke it and poured a precious ointment over his head and down his body. Apparently she had recognized what the disciples had not, namely that soon he would die and his body would need anointing for burial. The 12 scolded her for not caring instead for the poor, ptokos. This is the same word that's used in the Odyssey for Melantho, the rebuke of Melantho for not caring for the poor. But Jesus insisted that she committed a beautiful act, a kalan ergon, whereas in the Odyssey, Penelope says Melantho has created a mega ergon, that is an outrageous act. Same word for the act in Greek.
I want to emphasize that. So remind people of that Greek point again, because I want people to not miss that. The fact that the same Greek is being used is really crucial to this.
Okay, Odysseus, in disguise as a beggar, accuses Melantho of not caring for the ptochoi. And you have the same issue about the poor with the same word, ptochis. And also Penelope accuses Melantho of doing a mega ergon, that is an outrageous or a great act. And we have Jesus saying that the woman who anointed him did a kalan ergon, a good act, as opposed to a bad act.
So this is crucial. The key, the Greek lining up with the concept of what's being done to the story. This is one of many pieces of this that actually indicate that the emulation is what's happening here.
And it's not just emulation, it's advertised emulation. Mark is not disguising his use of Homer. And actually these parallels continue. The name Eurycleia means far-flung fame. And Homer punned on it in Penelope's statement to her in Odyssey 19. If one is noble and of noble heart, strangers carry one's fame far and wide. Kleos eru, reversing the words of uru kleos, to all peoples, and speak of one's excellent. Luke freely redacted Mark's account at the beginning of his transformation of the pericope peccatora that we had talked about before. Now, I'm going to ask Derek to read on page 206 the entire story in Mark, from Mark 14:3-9. You can make your own judgment about the parallels. So go ahead.
And while he was in Bethany, at the house of Simon the leper, and as he was reclining at dinner, a woman entered, who brought an alabaster jar of very costly ointment of pure nard. She broke the alabaster jar and poured the ointment down over his head. But some people expressed with each other their indignation. Why this waste of ointment? This ointment could have been sold for more than 300 denarii, and
donated to the poor. It goes off to the next page, right? And that word poor is the same word used in the Odyssey, the ptochoi.
And they scolded her harshly. Mark, but Jesus said, let her be. Why do you trouble her? She has performed a beautiful act on my behalf, for you always have the poor with you, and when you wish, you can do good for them. But you do not always have me. She offered what she had. She anticipated the anointing of my body for burial. And I tell you truly, wherever the good news is proclaimed throughout the whole world, or through the world, what this woman has done also will be spoken of in her
That
memory.
is, she will have Eurocleia. She will have renown far and wide. And the reader expects, this is a flag to Eurocleia, that this woman is doing a generous act that will be remembered everywhere, just as Eurocleia's generosity would be proclaimed throughout the Greek world. Any comments?
No, it's beautiful.
I just think that right there alone, the name means the very phrase in which Jesus is using, is a huge red flag on top of everything Carrier and you.
Yeah, and it's worth showing people. I'm going to show people this. So you have the synopsis. I don't know if this will show up on video, but you can at least see the structure of the page. But he's got all of the Homeric verses, so you can actually go and check, complete with. And then when we have the comparisons here, the
synoptics.
We have again all of the passages that you would need from Homer to actually see the parallels and figure it out.
Well, in fact, it's right that those things in the footnote come from Homer, but they actually come from a Byzantine retelling of
yes,
the
this is a
story.
good one. The bottom footnote stuff. So we have the Homer passages here, but down here in the footnote we've got
The Homerocentones.
What is that?
These are poems. There are 5 large poems done over a period of about half a millennium, actually. Beginning in the 4th century, the first poet actually was a woman, Evdokia, the wife of Theodosius II. These texts have never been exhaustively translated in any modern language. And we've had a critical edition of them only in the last 15 years or so. And you will not find what we're going to read right now in any commentary or discussion of this text. And I think it shows clearly that these authors saw in this story echoes of the story of Odysseus, and they did not shy away from identifying those similarities and using the Homeric lines that inspired Mark to retell the Markan story. So Homer is both earlier than Mark and later than Mark when the Byzantine authors retell the story. It's really quite an amazing phenomenon.
and it's another proof of concept. Like, they saw this. So one of the criticisms of your work is like, well, why didn't they see it? Well, here, they did.
That's right.
Do you want us to read that? Or
Yes, we do. And in fact, I'll read the things that are not Homeric, and I'm going to invite Richard to read the things that are.
Where are we? We're on 205.
In footnote 32.
Okay.
The following lines from Recension 1 of the Homerocentones retell Jesus' anointing and retain the pun on the name Eurocleia. I would not.
Oh, you want me to go there? Okay. So this is from the Kentos. I would not object to a woman like this touching my feet. That's right from Odyssey. Woman, no mortal on the boundless earth would reprove you, for your renown extends to the far off. Kleos, Euron.
Yep.
To the far off sky. Like that of a faultless king, who, God-fearing, rules over many valiant men, maintaining justice, and the black earth brings him as snow melted on the high mountains, snow that the Euros thawed when the Zephyros poured over it.
Let me read the transition here.
Okay, yeah.
Because here are some more imitations of the Niptra in Recension 1, and they describe the grieving mother of Jesus, the Theotokos.
Ah, I see, yeah. These are lines from Homer, ultimately. As snow melted on the high mountains, snow that the Euros thawed when the Zephyros poured over it, and as it melts the flowing rivers bulge, so her beautiful cheeks melted as she wept.
So just as Penelope weeps for her husband, the Theotokos weeps for her dead child. To comfort Mary, a divine voice came to her. By the way, all of these lines come from the Niptra, that is Odyssey 19, and I've identified them by specific lines. Some of the lines are identical, some of them are modestly changed because of the environment. To comfort Mary, a divine voice came to her with comforting words drawn especially from Odysseus' transfiguration to Telemachus and his prediction to Penelope in the Niptra.
And I will tell you another thing and place it in your heart. Your child is safe and will come very soon. Such a son as anyone might desire to have. Not for long will he be far from his loved ones and homeland. Surely all these things will come to pass, just as I say. You will see him. For I suppose that you will not stop, weeping, groaning, and tearful lamenting, until you lay your eyes on him. But I will give you this command, for now, go to your home at daybreak, and speak with the mighty suitors, the 11 disciples in this case, obviously.
Yeah,
Not long.
I think that's enough, honestly, just for time. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Right.
But in the same footnote, Richard, toward the end, at the end of the chapter of Recension 2, after the healing, where the Markan story has the woman serve a meal, the poem strings together from Odyssey 11, 14 Homeric lines of the 16, often in the same sequence. So all of the following lines Richard's going to read come from Odyssey 19. Several of them appear in exactly the same sequence, and it's used for the retelling of the story that we have in Mark. So, for quickly mortals.
For quickly mortals grow old because of hardship. And here referring to Eurycleia. Thus the wise mother of Peter answered him, Dear stranger, never before has a man so prudent of dear strangers from afar come here to my house. So thoughtfully prudent as you are in everything that you say, while I am an old woman, a good caregiver, I will wash your feet, though I am frail. And that's originally from a Penelope line, but here it's the mother of Peter. Jesus responds, Washings of feet do not please my heart, and no woman shall touch my feet, for many nights on a wretched bed I have slept and waited for the bright-throned dawn. Unless there is an old woman, a good caregiver, who has suffered in her breast as much as I would not object to a woman like this touching my feet.
I don't know how one can deny mimesis in this example. And to deny mimesis is to say that the Byzantine authors were smoking dope.
Right.
Sorry. But we have verbal similarities that are significant. After all, the difference is Odysseus comes back never having died, and the point in the story in Mark is Jesus is going to die after his death and be triumphant. And Eurycleia recognizes that she has spiritual perception in a way that the disciples don't. They want to give the money to the poor, which is virtuous, obviously, but you don't always have Jesus. And so you also have a rebuke and so on. I mean, the parallels are just so striking that now this is if you will, the camel's nose under the tent, and it's not going to be long before the whole camel is under the tent. If one can grant such advertised mimesis, in this case, at a crucial point in the Christian narrative, you've got to be open to seeing such mimesis elsewhere.
Yeah, and it's worth reemphasizing for people who might not have caught it that they actually were able to completely retell the entire gospel using nothing but lines from Homer. So what is the probability that you could do that unless the original gospels were already doing that, essentially? And what they do here, of course, is they're doing it much more literally. They're much more directly. They're taking actual lines, whole lines from Homer, slight modifications here and there, but it's clear what they're doing is that will do this, that will do this, that will do this, and it all falls together, which would not probably be possible had Mark, for example, not already built all these narratives out of Homeric passages.
And you have analogous imitations in Greek tragedy, in Greek novels, and in a Jewish novel. So what Mark is doing here is a part of a literary tradition that is spread throughout the culture that Mark is living in.
Ladies and gentlemen, join MythVision's Patreon not only to support us, but there are 72 videos that I did with Dr. Dennis R. MacDonald and Richard Carrier. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that show. I have hundreds of other ones on the Patreon, letting you guys know you can help us continue doing what we're doing at MythVision Podcast. Also, you can have questions asked to the academics that I research with and I interview. Your question can be asked in a 1080p high-quality video that might end up on YouTube. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to expose the cults, show these superstitions for what they are, and the errors within these texts and all of these religions to help people realize they're all man-made and that we have what it takes. All we need to do is pull together. And let me tell you something. The religious world has the financial backing that those skeptics such as myself don't have. So if you want to help and be a participant, you can for a little bit a month. It's not much. If you want to go more, you can. But like I said, this is how I can keep the lights on for MythVision.